Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Well, to the election now, and the Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn has changed his mind and is now taking part in tonight's televised debate. He'll be pitting himself against the Lib Dems, UKIP, the SNP, the Green Party and Plaid Cymru, and for the Conservatives, the Home Secretary, Amber Rudd, because the Prime Minister won't be turning up, saying she's taking questions up and round the country instead. Our political editor, Gary Gibbon, is in Westminster tonight. Gary.
Hi. Well, what seems to be happening here is yet again Labour's being quite light-footed. Generally, their campaign has surprised the Tories in the level of competence it's had, but it's light-footed as well, with Jeremy Corbyn spinning round and changing his mind and deciding to go to this debate, and Theresa May yet again looking slightly leaden-footed. And I think you'll get a flavour of just how leaden-footed in the clip we're about to play to you. Theresa May, as part of her tour today, visited the city of Bath. She went to a factory, and listen to the way she responds to the question that's put to her, but listen also to the way that, yet again, you hear people, in this case factory workers, laughing at her.
Prime Minister, if you're so strong and Jeremy Corbyn's so weak, as you said, why have you sent Amber Rudd to take on his arguments at the debate tonight?
Look, well, I'm interested, you know, in the fact that Jeremy Corbyn seems to be paying far more attention to how many appearances on telly he's doing. I think he ought to be paying a little more attention to thinking about Brexit negotiations. That's what I'm doing, to make sure we get the best possible deal for Britain.
Of course, it's not exactly what she's doing, because she's fighting the campaign that she called. There was some alarming news for Conservatives' central office, you might think, this morning on the front of the Times newspaper, a YouGov analysis of polling that suggested that actually the Conservatives were going backwards from the last general election. I have to say that is not what you hear from Labour sources. That's not their analysis, not what they're hearing on the doorstep. They think they are making a bit of ground. They think their vote is firming up. They're getting a bit from the Greens, maybe a tiny bit from UKIP, not always in where they'd want it, but they think they're probably, in terms of percentage points, double figures behind the Tories. And an interesting tweet came out today from the American polling advisor who worked for President Obama, Jim Messina. He's working inside there at the moment. He's pretty good at predicting elections. He predicted the last one extremely accurately. He said, spent the day laughing at YouGov's stupid poll.
Thanks, Gary. Well, I'm joined now by David Davis, the Brexit Secretary. What are you doing there at the debate? If anyone should be concentrating on Brexit, it should be you.
Well, I've been working in the department all day, and I'm here to help with the debate tonight. That's what I'm here for.
But this
appearing
debate
at your
doesn't
request,
matter.
I think.
Theresa May's too scared to turn up.
That's rubbish. I mean, she's appeared on Monday and she's appearing again on Friday with Mr. Corbyn. He only decided himself this morning. What you called nimble, I would call rather vacillatory. He turns up because he did very badly yesterday in an interview on the radio where he didn't know the numbers behind his own policy that he was launching at that time.
What is she
so
scared
wait a
of?
minute. Let me just finish the answer.
No, don't talk about Jeremy Corbyn. We want to talk to you about Theresa May. What is she scared of?
Well, I'm very happy to talk about that. Then she's appeared on Monday, she's appeared on Friday, she's done 5,500 miles or more around the country, talking to people directly. That is, after all, what elections are about. She's taken more questions from the public and more questions from the journalists, sometimes more questions than Mr. Corbyn has. And of course, in between it all, she's got to run the country, which is actually rather important too.
Why does she go around just saying things that aren't true, as she did today about claiming that Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour Party want uncontrolled migration? That's not true, is it?
Well, what came out this morning was a policy paper from within the Labour Party, I don't know the standing of it, which indicates that they're willing to reopen what's called Tier 3. I don't want to disappear into the technicalities of it, but that implies allowing more unskilled workers in the country. So it doesn't imply that they want to control it. And indeed, the other
are you guaranteeing no unskilled workers?
Wait a minute, you asked the question.
Well, you're not answering it.
With respect. No, let me finish answering your question, Mr. Murphy. The other day, he was asked was his aim to bring down migration, he wouldn't answer. Our aim is to bring down migration, to the tens of thousands. It'll take time, it'll take work, it'll take consistent application, but yes, that's our aim.
Right, so are you going to stop all unskilled migrants coming to Britain after Brexit?
And that's a different question. It will take time.
Yeah,
I've said it any number of times. We're not going to slam. We're not. Well, wait a minute. Really, Mr. Murphy. If you ask a question, you should wait for the answer. That's one of the reasons that you bring these debates into disrepute. But let me come back to it. Of course, there are all sorts of economic needs this country has, and the reason it will take time to hit our target, to get down to sustainable levels, is because we're going to be paying attention to that. Whether it's the international competition for talent, or whether it's dealing with seasonal demands. That's what we will do, but it will be managed, not unmanaged. It will be managed migration, not free movement. That's the distinction.
I'll tell you what brings politics and debate into disrepute. It's political lying. It's politicians saying that their opponents are saying things that just aren't true, like Theresa May saying Jeremy Corbyn is in favour of uncontrolled immigration, when his manifesto clearly talks about managed migration, or saying you're not going to hold an election when you then have one, or saying you're not performing a U-turn on social care when you clearly are. That's what brings politics into disrepute, isn't it? And then not turning up to a debate.
She said she wasn't going to take part in this debate from the beginning. There's nothing new about that. It was Mr. Corbyn who changed his mind this morning, as I said, because he made a horrible mess of launching his own policy initiative. And so you must take that as it is.
Were you at work on Monday, or were you out campaigning?
Monday, I was out campaigning. I was in Erdington, I think, initially. Then I did some broadcasts, then I came back.
Because on Monday, the EU issued its two big documents on the negotiation position.
Yeah,
and you'd have thought that you, as the Brexit Secretary, were sitting down to have a look at them and read them.
It's the wonders of modern technology, Mr. Murphy, that you can actually read things on iPads on the train.
Yeah, but the point is,
I don't need to read them in the studio like Mr. Corbyn, but I do read them on the train. And that's what we did that day.
This election
and got the Britain. I know the point you're trying to make,
hasn't
but
it, to
you're
your
failing
job?
to make. Sorry?
This election has been a huge distraction to your job.
Not
of
at all.
preparing
Not
for
at all.
Brexit. The negotiations begin 11 days after the election.
Would you like the answer? One of the points of this election is to reinforce Theresa May's hand. So 11 days after this election is over, when she goes, if she's elected Prime Minister, and you've made some points about surveys today, but if she's elected and she is our representative, she'll be there fully prepared with 10 months of preparation behind her. And she'll have a mandate, and that's a very important point, a mandate to carry out the negotiation in the way she has described. A free trade area, a customs agreement, a continuing agreement on security, all the things that we've laid out in two white papers, in a major letter to the Commission, and in a major Lancaster House speech. That's what we're doing. That's why she is the person to lead this country.
In March, you admitted that you hadn't costed the economic impact of no deal, even though you keep saying no deal is better than a bad deal. Have you done one yet?
You're summarising something. Let me tell you what it is. If you're going to do a costing of something like this, you've got to cost everything. You've got to cost what the changes in exports are, both to the EU and to the world at large. It's very plain that after we leave the EU, we'll be able to enhance our ability to export to the rest of the world. That will be a benefit. What we're aiming to do is to maintain the most frictionless free trade to Europe with no tariffs and minimal customs restrictions. That should preserve our market there. So I can't see where there should be a cost to it. But that's the point. You've got to work those things out first. Forecasts without doing that first are just guesswork, and I don't do guesswork.
OK, so we haven't got one yet, but David Davis, thank you very much.